Hi, and welcome to another TerranScapes video. This video shows a recently completed board set as well as 4 buildings constructed using the Games Workshop Imperial Sector. I actually previewed these buildings recently to show you as a work in progress, and I wanted to give you a sense of the entire table setup with the buildings on them. I think at the end of this video I might try to show a couple quick close-ups of the buildings so you can see them a little bit better, but I'm going to try to point out some major features of them as we look at this video from this angle and see how that goes. So first, a little bit about the board. The board is the Martian butte set. So it's got the individual buttes. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody suggested I use a laser pointer, so let's try that out and see. So it's got, of course, the buttes. It's got a large arch piece. You can't see the arch opening down below here, but it's got the large arch included in it. It's got, here you can see a mesa board where it's mounted directly into the board, and in the back you can see some more of the buttes floating around various spots. The board is flocked with a clone of Games Workshop's static grass, which is their scorched static grass, and this is actually a knock blend that is a very, very close match, which is considerably more economical in price. And now the customer wanted 25 to 30% coverage. So instead of what I normally do is I normally flock all the way around the edges and then leave gaps within the interiors of the board. But since the coverage was expected to be much less, I wouldn't really it would end up looking like there were big open holes. So I just did patches interior and tried to space them so that when the boards were placed together, you know, it made a seamless join, and it looked like the patches were meant to sort of, you know, not show a pattern of the tiling of the boards. And I think overall that came out pretty well. A trick for that is really to try to place some of the patches close to the edges and then leave some voids in the middles, you know, of the boards, and then as you tile them, some will look like they carry across as a random placement, and some will look like just the gaps are opening up in between. So here I thought was a very nice shot of the new water effect. So here in the pond you can see the ripple effect that's produced on the water, and requires a couple of coats and it takes a little bit of time, but I think the waves it produces are really very close to scale and it gives it a really nice water effect, so I'm really pleased with how that came out. So taking a look at the buildings, the customer made a request that the buildings have a different color on the interior than they did on the exterior. And in the past what I've done is I've just taken one color and just done the whole building in it and then maybe picked out the decking a little bit different. But I liked the idea. He actually sent me a photo, always helpful, and I wanted to try to use that as a theme throughout, and I was hoping that using an airbrush I'd be able to do some of that painting a little bit more quickly. I will say that it does take a little extra time, as I had to mask off all of the windows on one side so that when I was painting, say, the red outside, it wouldn't spray onto the green interior. So it does take a little extra time to do all that masking and mask off all the edges, but it really produces a nice effect, and it's certainly a lot more realistic than having a uniform colored building both inside and out. The buildings, I decided to go with a little bit of a different color scheme than I have in the past. In the past I've tried to pick out some of these details. Let's zoom in a little bit on that and I'll show you what I mean. In the past I've tried to pick out some of these details and, you know, try to maybe pick out with some gold or pick out with some bronze, or, you know, those sorts of ideas. And looking at a lot of the way people have finished their buildings for their Imperial Sector, a lot of people seem to, probably to save a little bit of time, avoid picking out some of those details. I realize that I think sometimes it might make it a little bit too busy. I don't know. It's more of an aesthetic taste. And I thought instead I would try something new and work mostly on weathering effects. Here you can see some smoke that has come out of the windows. Here you can see, let's see if I can get in a little closer. No, that's maximum. I'll show you a close-up at the end. I've worked on some more rust effects. Here you can see patches of rust, rubble, and I really worked on the weathering rather than the details of this. And that included in the piles, placing in ash on the piles, rusting sections of the piles, adding in debris. And that took, you know, as much time as I probably should be spending on a project like this, although I ended up investing probably a few extra hours of my own time as I tried some experimental techniques. And here you can see, I tried to add a little rust to the tops of these iron girders on the sides and fade that down. Just all sorts of different kinds of coloring and shading to try to blend these together and give them a much more interesting look rather than trying to pick out the details and then have the building look a little bit flatter. Let's see if I can show you over here. Here you can see this is the Manufactorum section, and I really just went in with some bright rust to kind of contrast with the dark grays. I went with a whole muted gray look for this and really wanted to sort of give it some kind of a severe rusting effect to show that contrast. Learned a lot about doing the rust effects as I went through these buildings and got progressively better as I went, as I tried some new techniques. I took a look at a video from the Scale Model Medic. He has a lot of helpful hints. I recommend that you take a look at those as you, if you're interested in tips and tricks on how to do your own rusting effects or weathering effects using weathering powders. So this is just a little look at the board. Show you a little bit of the riverway, how that looks up close. And really, this set includes, well, this is a little crooked, there we go. This set includes the 4 buildings, which were built using the Imperial Sector plus 1 extra Basilica box set, and includes the Martian board set. So this is actually incomplete. There's an extra plain board, there's an extra pair of river end caps in case you want to take the river and you want to terminate it mid-board or create new double pathways or things like that where you have 2 sections of river coming onto the board and ending, which also creates a land bridge if they're put together. And it includes actually a few buttes that I didn't put on there as well because really the board felt crowded enough, and I thought that there was plenty enough of terrain to simulate a pretty dense fighting environment for games like 40K. Just before I move to the close-up sections of the video, I thought I'd give you a model's eye view of some of the work that was done. Some of the flying buttresses, sort of shadowed in the dark here. A little shot of the river from the river's, model eye view, and some of the buildings. Let's see if I can pan around. Oh, clickety-clack. Oh, one thing I should mention, for the sandbars, you can see, and that sometimes it was hard to view it from the aerial shots, that I do a little step down next to the sandbars on both sides of the river, and then you could use that as a fordable area to get your models across, and then play, the deeper areas of the Martian board river, maybe as impassable or dangerous terrain or something like that to cross. But it adds just a little bit of flexibility in case you don't have bridges, some flexibility in play. Maybe this is, dangerous to cross and bridges are not. It's up to you, of course, but it just gives you that little sense of the variations that are in the river. A little close up here, model eye view on the board of one of the buildings. Alright, let's take a closer look at some of these buildings in a little bit better lighting though. So I wanted to give you a chance to just see a couple close-ups before I wrap up the video. First I thought I'd give you a close-up of the river so you can get a little sense of what that water surface looks like, maybe with a little bit better lighting. I don't know, looks a little washed out maybe. Get a sense of what those cuts look like, some of the shading in the water. Overall, I like the effect. I think it came out pretty nicely. And then a quick couple close-ups of some of the buildings. I tried for I thought I'd go for a darker blue, and then when I painted it, it looked a little bright, but I gave it an Army Painter strong tone wash, and that really muted that blue down. This is midnight blue. But then when I dry brushed it, it kind of brought it back up a little bit. But in any case, I think it ended up like a pretty nice color. I like the overall look, and again, I really like the double stacked, halves of the building. Really feels like there was a filled out building here. I added, because I staggered the buildings a little bit, implying that the wall might have come out and then gone in and then connected to this one. Although making some corners with the sprues from the building pieces from the Imperial Sector are a little bit tricky. So I couldn't actually make this bend. I was going to make it and then actually connect it, and it was a little tricky. So I left it open, and then I added a couple pieces to make it like there was a little barricade there and that you have a little walkway that models kind of, oh wait a minute, let's see if I flip it around, there we go. So that models, you know, would have to kind of sneak in behind this to enter into the building, so troops here could kind of guard the entryway facing out and defend the interior of the building, maybe. Something just a little bit of variety. And again, that two-tone color, really like how that came out. Able to add in, let's see if I can give you a little close-up of some of the, well, that's probably going to be it. A little close-up of some of the rust effects. Scorch marks on the corners, and of course the Army Painter wash gave some nice tone to it. And the customer had suggested when I showed the first video that I try to flatten this platform a little bit more to make models a little more stable on it. And so let's give it a little pan back so you can see the whole building first. There we go. So what I did is I propped it up as though people might have tried to reinforce this before they actually could use it as a gangway. Propped it up on some rubble, propped it up on a little bar here, and then added in a couple rocks on a couple key spots so that if you really needed to, you could balance a model right on this, and that would keep it hopefully a little bit more stable. The only place that isn't going to really be stable no matter what you do is this one piece here, but you know, that's an inch and a half that you have to cross, and surely you could, you know, adjust models on it if you need to, just to represent them there temporarily while they make the move. So, and again, the balcony here in the front. Give you just a little bit of close-up there. And lastly, just to show you one more building real quick. Here's that extended buttressed balcony that I did. I opted not to put the pieces in here. You know, once I had this assembled and was painting it, it was really difficult to get into a couple spots, so I wanted to keep it reasonably easy to paint some of the key areas, as in especially those two-wall buildings. Very hard to get into some of those spots. And give you a little top-down view. And I added in some weathering powders as a wash to go over the rubble piles, and it really gave them some nice ashy covering that fills into the recesses and kind of unifies it and ties it together. I was really pleased with that. It's a little bit tricky to know how much to use, as you can easily over apply it. So maybe thinner. I ended up going thinner on some of them, and then made multiple applications so I wouldn't overwash it. So that just gives you a little close-up of how the building's finished. I really like the two-tone, the interior and the exterior colors varying. I think it added a lot to them. And of course, if you want to see pictures of these, I'll have pictures up on the site within a day or so, and you can see those in the custom work section. Even though this is modified custom work, I'm going to count this as custom work just so I can have some place to store those kinds of photos so people can see modifications, so they know what kinds of things can be done for them in the future. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and and of course those are in the custom section at TerranScapes.com. So that's always a place where you can go, find out contact information, see all the other products that are on the site, and of course most of the products now that have links to videos will have the links there listed next to the videos or next to the items as well. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.